getting organised video, I showed you my new die storage and how I was using magnetic P-plates to make sure that all of my thin dies stay in place and don't fall about within the container. And so I showed you a couple of different ones that I actually made, or a couple of different designs, and then I did mention that I had some additional ones that I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do them, in particular these Heidi swap ones, simply because I didn't want you know, little ones. I was hoping to group these together and store them together. You know, if I'm looking for a scripted word, then I'm, you know, like to go through all of my scripted words, and if they're single words, then I would like to be able to keep them together. So I've come up with another way that I can store these using a similar technique to the previous one, so I thought I would share that with you. So I'll just push that off to the side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to include these all on one P-plate. So the thing with these is they're really cumbersome to pull out and rather fiddly, and then I might have a particular space on a project. So sometimes you choose a word that's going to work, but if it doesn't really work, you know, as a title around the space on a layout, then you might say, oh, I'll put that one back and I'll grab another one out, and they are really quite fiddly. So it'd be nice to be able to just open up a pack and have access to all of them all in one go. So just going to flip them over. Now, because they're so thin as well, most of the time you store your dies flat, but you could store these ones the right way around so that you could see the word, or you could have it the other way. It doesn't really matter, and I'm going to show you how you can see what the words are really easily anyway. And as you can see, if I layer these quite carefully, if I purchased one more, I could probably squeeze one more in down the bottom, maybe. I could sort of, you know, flip them one on the side, that kind of thing, and squeeze more in that way. So if I put that one on the side, that will probably be the best. So it doesn't really matter how they lay out on here, as long as they've got the flat surface. So I'm going to ditch these packages because they're really annoying, and what I've got is a piece of a glossy cardstock. I think this came out, it was like packaging from a crafting supply that I purchased, and I tend to keep these, particularly this size, because I find that they come in handy for all sorts of things, and today is the day I'm going to use this one. So I'm actually going to use that sort of as my base, and I'm going to stick my magnet to it like so. Now this magnet is actually not quite as big this time as the cardstock, so I'm going to trim the cardstock down, but I will worry about that shortly. But what I really like about this technique is being able to see the dies that are actually being housed on the magnet. And so this has got like a semi-shiny side and a really shiny side. So it's a really shiny side that I'm going to use. And what I've done in advance off screen is just pick a paper that I quite like, but I have plenty of, and I've just cut those scripted words out of that paper, just so that I can see them in something that I think looks good. There's no point in cutting them out of a paper that I don't really like, because I'm not going to be inspired to use them. The other thing that I will point out is that the Imagine does have the I is dotted, but I decided not to keep the dot and dot the I because I don't actually use it. I've never used the dot on the I, and so I felt like I didn't really need to see it in too much detail. So there's the 3 words. I might actually go ahead and adhere down my magnet. So same technique as before, using the super sticky tape, if I can find the end, that is. And this time I just use the P-plate as the guide, because the cardboard is the thing that's going to be trimmed down. So you're obviously just limited by the size of the P-plate as opposed to anything else. So if your die happens to be bigger than that, I imagine there is dies out there that are, not that I have any, then you wouldn't be able to use this technique. So just some double-sided tape, and then you could measure and trim the cardstock down beforehand, but I'm not a huge fan of measuring if I can avoid it. And I don't know, I measure and I still find that I get it wrong, so I just find it's easier to trim it down with scissors and use the P plate as a guide, and try not to cut the P plate, which I feel like I might be trimming a little bit of it off as we go, as long as it ends up the same width. And we've got it like so. Now the other thing is this is really quite large at the top there, and all the other ones had, like, you know, the brand or yeah, the collection up the top. So I'm thinking, rather than losing completely this Heidi Swap brand, what I might do is actually just stick that down. So I don't want any of this, but I do want this bit. And I probably don't even want the dies. I'm actually just deciding what I'm going to do. I might just stick the Heidi Swap down. I really don't need the die part. And just super sticky tape. Just keeps that branding a little bit, so I can look at it straight away and go, oh yeah, I know they're Heidi Swap brand scripted word dies. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take a punt on where this lines up. Maybe not quite right, but that's fine by me. And then I'm going to flip it over, and this is where I'm going to stick these words so I can actually see what they look like. Okay, now because I chose the glossy side, I have to use a good glue, so I think the Tombow Mono Multi liquid glue will do the trick here. And the good thing about this glue is it doesn't require much at all. So you just need to dot a little bit around the edges. You don't have to put a huge amount. Make sure you get, you know, like the extreme points of the word. So top of the A there, the curve. And put the big one down the bottom. Press that down. This glue dries pretty quickly as well. If you're ever worried, the technique I use is just reaching to grab it. I just use a stamping block, and I'll just rest that on top. And sometimes if it's sort of something that's not sitting quite right, I might get something a little bit heavier, like a punch, a big punch, to just put some weight onto that. So while that's adhering, just adding the next one. I think you know, this will work for these dies the way that I use them. Obviously if you use your dies differently, then you need to think about what might work for you. If you go for a particular word rather than a style of you know, title that you're looking for, then, you know, maybe this technique won't work because you really want that particular word that you're looking for and you want to keep them separate. But for me, this is definitely going to work. So toying with the idea. No, I think I'll keep it straight. Maybe there. That way, if I want to add another one later, I definitely can. I have seen them on sale, but they were words that I just didn't think I would use as much. And they were only a few dollars actually. They were reduced when I went to Spotlight one day. I think they were $3 or $4 or something like that. But I felt like there's no point spending $3 or $4 if I'm really not going to use it. So how often would I put the word create on a layout? It probably just wasn't worth the investment. So just making sure I get enough glue on those edge pieces, because you just don't want them to peel up. That's the main thing. Okay, and adhering that down like so, and again just lifting up that next bit and sticking that down. So I think this will work for me for this, and I will probably use this technique I showed you in the last video, a few other dyes. So I may use this technique for these other dyes. I'm not sure, like I think the arrows and the sign goes well together, but these snowflakes are a little bit different, so I'm not sure I want to store them together, so I might just hold them in my little square tub, which I showed you in my last video, for now, until I make a decision about those. But those two would definitely match like the scripted word dyes, so that should be enough to have that held down. If you've got any bits coming up, just peel it up and add a little bit more glue. I haven't had this Tombow glue for that long, and I find that I'm still getting used to how much you have to squeeze to get the right amount out. So then we just flip that over, we add our dyes, and I'm going to add them the opposite way, so you really can't see what they're going to look like, so you do need to flip it over and check it out. And then I've actually, and this is an example of keeping packaging, so I don't even know where I got this packaging from, but it's slightly bigger than the bags that I've actually got already, and then I'm just going to slide that in, because the bags that I had really didn't fit this, it was a little bit wider. And there's another set of dyes stored nice and easy all together, and I can just flip over to the back and look at the words that are contained on there. So I hope you enjoyed this storage video, or getting organised video. I'm really enjoying getting my craft space organised, and I'm really happy to be able to share some of my ideas with you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more. Thanks for watching.